Hi everyone, welcome to part 6. In part 6 here, we are going to be talking about data mutation and error handling. We're going to look at what server actions are here, how to work with forms and server components, how to revalidate the client's cache using the revalidate path API, how to use error.txts file to cache errors in route segments. And last but not the least, we are going to see how we can use the not found function and the not found file to handle 404 errors. So this is basically what we are going to be doing throughout this part here. So without wasting much time, let's dive right into it and see what we're going to be doing here. If we move down to our application here, this is our order page here. I'm going to remove this log console.log here. Now there is something we didn't do here, and that is what I want to do right now before we move on to building our pages. The first thing is this table here. We need to stream this table. Yes, we need to stream this table here. So I'm just going to put in here our suspense and fallback. This is going to be suspense, yes, like this like this. Yes, now we need to wrap this suspense in with this table. Now we now bring our loading skeleton, which is actually table, I think we called it order list skeleton, like this. Great. Now we have our we are now streaming the orders for this table here. If you go to application here, let's see, this is our application now. If you try to reload this application, you see, if you look carefully, you'll see the loading indicator coming and going here. Let me refresh. Yes, you saw it there. So this is because this here route here is quite fast here. If you try click next, okay, everything is still working now. So that is the only thing I wanted to do there. Now let's go and begin with this section in Propal by actually building these pages here, because we have the create page here. We need to come into this create page and we build this create page here. We also build this edit page, and also this tracking page here. We need to build this tracking page. So we are going to build all of those pages here in this section. So let's start with the create page here. Since this is going to be a form, I'll create a new component called form group. Yes, or call input group, rather I'll call it input group, so that we can reuse that input group in many parts of our application here. So let's go right down to where we have our components here. This is components in the UI section. I'll create a new file under this components. I'll call this input group, or input dash group .txts. say rfc e say input group here. Okay, just like this, we have the input. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create an interface, because there are certain things I want this input group to have here. This is going to be interface of input group props, like this. And the first is going to be children, which is going to be of type React and Node, and the second is going to be placeholder, which is going to be a type string, and I'm going to have HTML4. There's a reason why I'm giving this HTML4 like this. You're going to see how we are going to use this. And also I'm going to have class names, which is obviously going to be optional, and it's not going to be string. Actually, it's going to be of type react.html attribute. Yes, react HTML attribute. Yes, this is it here, and HTML div element, and we'll pass the class name right into it like this. So this is the class names, and we're going to have also errors, which is going to be optional, and it's going to be a string of array here, or it can be undefined here, or it's going to be a string, no, undefined, like this. Okay, now we have our input group here. Yes, our input group props. These are the props for this input group. So here I'll just bring in the input groups here like this. Yes, now we can start building this section. Let's start by giving the class name here, and for this I'm going to bring in our good friend here, and I'll say flex is going to be column, and I want to give a gap of 2 like this, and here I'm going to just pass in the class name which we specified earlier. So pass class name in here. So what we are doing is we are going to have the option in order to style the parents of this input group using these class names here. This class name here, yes, we're going to be able to start the parents of this like this. Now here I'm going to have a label. Let me just do it like this. We're going to adjust whatever thing that needs adjusting in here. Here I'm instead going to have the children here. This is children here, and here we are going to have the input here. Input. I want to just start the input here like this, and also here I'm going to move this text small. This is going to be 90. Okay, like that. Let's see. Okay, the errors here is fine. HTML4 is good. Now let's work on the input here. On this input, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spread like props here, so that we can overwrite this input when we are working on our input. So this is going to be props like this. We can also have, for this input, we can also have an ID here. I'm just going to give the ID here to be HTML4 here, and also name is going to be HTML4, and placeholder. Now the placeholder here, because placeholder is going to change, so I'll say placeholder is going to be placeholder. What is left now is just our class names. So the class names here, I'll just say outline is going to be none, and focus, when we are focused, I want to give an outline of indigo 200 like that. And also when we are focused here, I want to give an outline of 2 like that. This is going to be a block level element. The width is going to be full. Rounded is empty. We're going to have a border, and border gray of 200, and a padding of 4, outline of 2. Okay, now with these stars we have this input group. We have the input group now. What we can do now is let's go into our form, one of the forms which we are going to be using here. Let's start with the create here. Let's come to create here. Here, instead of a div, I'm going to just give form here like this, and this form is going to have, we have action. I'm just going to leave the action for now like this. It's okay, because it's that action which we are going to use in order to create our do our server actions, to pass our server actions right into this action component there. So I'll say rounded, empty, and a background of indigo 200. Width is going to be full, and padding of 4. On medium devices here, we want to have a padding of 6 like this. Now let me give some more room here so that we see exactly what we are doing. Now inside here, I'm going to have another div here. Width is going to be full, of course. Flex here, and items center justified between. Gap is going to be 6. Here flex is going to be wrap. So with this now, we can begin putting our input group here. remember it's expecting a child here. So the first I'm going to give here is a product. I'll give product image because we need to create a product image. You see, it has some required props here. The first is that HTML4 here. I'll just say image here, and it also takes a placeholder. I'll just say product image. We can give a type to this, and the type here is just going to be file. So it is telling us that type is not a prop for this. Let's go back to this input group. We have prop here, and we are spreading the props here. I don't understand why that is not picking up the type. Okay, here I see what is going on here. Here we need to extend the HTML input element here. This HTML input attribute, we need to extend it here. So this is going to be input HTML attribute. Sorry, this input HTML attribute, you need to extend it here. So if you extend this attribute here, you see the arrow is gone. The arrow is gone from the page here. Now we can come here. Let's give a class name here, and the class name I'm going to give here is a width. Here we want a width of 45%, like this, and also we want to give a background to this input element. And for us to give that background to the input element, we're going to want to target all the input element here, and that's the direct child of the input element. And to this direct child, we want to give now the background, say bg-white, like this. Okay, now I think these are all the styles for this. I'm also going to copy this now here, or duplicate this. For this now, I'm just going to change the product name here. Instead of product image, I'll say product name, and instead of the file being a type, the file here, you cannot you can just say text here, like this. The file is text, and HTML4 here is going to be product name. Make sure you name it the same here, because this is the property name we have in the database. That's why we are naming it like that. So placeholder is going to be for product name, and here this is going to be product name as the label name. The label name is going to be product name here. So with this, we need to create another one. This is not copy. I'm going to copy this. Control V. The next one is going to be for our destination. So I'll just say destination. This destination, we are going to change this soon so that we include we are going to include a text box here with that. When we stop typing on that text box, we're going to see our address come up. That is the Google Place API. We're going to use the Google Place API in order to use this form like this here. But for now, let's just use this input like this. We're going to replace this with Google API here. So the placeholder is enter your destination address. The type here is text. Yes, it's okay. Here I'll just say destination. Okay, all of this is good. Now let's do the same thing here. We're going to do here for price. This is going to be for price here. The placeholder is going to be input product price is going to be a number, rather than being a text, is going to be a number, and here is going to be product price, like this. Now the next one we are going to have here is we are going to have a text area, but since we don't have something for the text area, so I'm just going to write it here. Since we don't have a reusable component for that, we're going to be using it only in this file here. So I'm not going to write a reusable component for it. So gap here is going to be 1, like this. I'll just do everything here. I'm going to have a label. HTML4 here is going to be description here, and here is going to be description. This is going to be a text area. and here text area. Okay, let's save this. Let's see. I also want to specify the roles here. The rows here. I want this to have like 5 rows. Okay, that one is okay. Now, after this text area, we need to have also another down here for our buttons. We need to have another div here for our buttons here. So I'll just say flex item center, and gap is going to be 4. Yes, and in here I'm just going to have a link which refs a link. This link is going to take us back to our dashboard orders. Yes, the link is going to take us back to the dashboard orders. I'll just say this is cancel. This for us to cancel here. And one more thing is that, let me see, we need to give some class names here. Class names, one px of 5, 5, yes, and py of 3, like this. Text is going to be -xl border indigo 500 on hover we want to have a border indigo of 300, a border for rounded large text indigo 100 and background indigo 500. So this is how this link is going to look like. After this, we need to create a button. This button is going to be for create orders here. Since we already have a button, we can just reuse our button component here. We already have a button component, remember? So I'm just going to reuse that button component here, and I'll say create order. And inside this button component here, I'm going to give a class name. This is just to override some default styling so that it looks exactly like what we have on this page. So indigo 5, okay, indigo 500 on hover. We want to give a border of indigo 300. The type here is going to be submit. So now like this, our form is created. Our form is created. So let's check it out. Let's go to create. Okay, this is how it looks now. You see it's glued up here because we do not have the up bar yet. We don't have the up bar here. So we are going to put the up bar and put the margin top here. But everything here is okay. We have our image here. If you click here, you see we can come here. You see here. Great. Yes. Okay. Now we can create an order. There's something wrong with this text here. I need to adjust it. We're just going to give a text of x large here, just so that this text is equal with this other one. Okay, now let's go to, before having this form, let's have our up bar. Let's put our up bar up here. Now we need to create a div, and we need to wrap all this form inside this div here. Yes, and instead I'll just run this div is going to be a main like this, and here now we can put our up bar here, up bar like this. Yes, inside this up bar now we can put some things here. I'll just first say create here for now, because here I want to put a breadcrumb here that we can navigate back and forth. We can go to the orders, we can go to the create orders page. Yes, to the list order page, sorry. We can go to the list order page to see all the orders here. So we're going to create a breadcrumb for that, but let's leave that for later. Right now, let's just put here create, and what do I want to do? I want to remove this form here and create its own component here. So if we come here, we need to create this form, its own component. So we're going to do that in these orders here. I'll create a new file. I'll say order dash create .txs. I say rfce. I say create order here. Now I'm just going to cut this form and I'll bring it here. I'll cut this form, I'll bring it inside this create order, and we need to import all of this. Import link from next link, and also input group. No, let's import it from here. Voila, everything is now obedient. After this, what I want to do is I want to first give another div here. I'll just give this a width of full. Inside this div, I want to have an h1 here. Give it class. This is going to be class name. Text is going to be 2x large. Margin top and bottom is going to be 5. It's going to be dash 5. Font is going to be semi bold, and text is going to be gray 900, this one. And now after this h1, we can now import our create order component here. I'm going to delete all of this. So by now you understand the reason why I'm creating this create order component as its own component, because here this create page here is going to act here as our the main server component. Is going to act as our main server component here. But this create order here, this is going to be a client component eventually, where we are getting all our orders and all of that. This is going to be the there's something wrong here. I need to say, let's say create order create. No, because this create order is just getting imported from here. So what I need to do is instead of create order here, I'll say order create. So here is going to be order create. So as I was saying, this order create here, we are creating its own component here. That's because this order create is eventually going to be a client component. So we are trying by all possible means in order to use server components. You can even look, this our input here, this input group here is going to be a server component. So only this component here is going to be a client component. This create order component here, this is going to be a create is going to actually be a client component here. So that's the reason why we are doing it like this. So if you check now, let's check here. Okay, we have the up bar here, we have everything set up now, we have this crate here. Now we are going to replace this with as I told you, we're going to replace this with a breadcrumb here. So let's go and build that breadcrumb before we can continue. So if we go back to the app here, we are going to build the breadcrumb and we just import it inside this crate here. Now, since breadcrumb is going to be a component we are going to use in other components, I'm going to create it under this components folder here. I'll create a new file here. I'll just call this breadcrumb.txs. Now, if you see here, we are, this is breadcrumb. You see something like this breadcrumbs, we are creating them manually, but if we're using a UI library, you could have just import the component and use it. So, but now we are just learning, so it's good we just do everything from scratch. No component library, we're going to build everything from scratch. So So I'm going to begin here by just giving I'll just give an interface of breadcrumb prop here, and in this interface I'm going to have a label like this. Label is going to be of type string. I'm going to have an href, and also I'm going to have an active property which is going to be of a boolean. And here we just need to get this as props. Here I'll just say breadcrumbs, I'll just call breadcrumbs like this, and breadcrumbs is going to be of an array of breadcrumb props. And here we're going to use some semantic HTML. Since this is going to be a navigation, we'll just put this nav here. So the trick here is whenever you see that you need to use semantic HTML, just go ahead and use it. It's going to help you with your SEO. So label, and I'll say bread. This is going to be breadcrumb, yes. And I'll give a class name here of block. It's going to be a block level element like this. And in here I want to give an unordered list like this. Now this unordered list, I'm going to give a class name. This is flex. Flex. The text is going to be x large, and on medium device here we want to have a text of 2x large. And here we just want to loop over these breadcrumbs like this. Now let's just change some few things here. First, let's start with the list items here. This list items, the key here is okay, and here you're saying flex. No, we don't need all of this. I'm going to remove this. Here I'll leave this class, but what I want to do is I want to conditionally give these class names here. I want to conditionally give the class names here. So here we're going to say if breadcrumb.active, then we want to say text dash indigo 100, else want to give a text of indigo 400 here, text dash indigo 400. So that's how we're going to do with the class names there. And let's see, what do we need to add here again? We need to add another Arial. This is Arial that's current here, and for this current I want to just give breadcrumb dot active. Now coming down to this a element, I'm going to replace it to a link. This is going to be a link. Take it from next link. And let me see the stylings here. We don't need a class name for this because we already started the classes here, so I'm going to remove that. So we're just going to give only the href here and also the label. Now here we are checking, coming down here we are checking if breadcrumb dot is active. Here I'm going to just remove this here, this condition. I don't want but this condition. I'll just say if index instead is less than breadcrumbs dot length. That means we are at the end of that breadcrumb. That means that's going to be the active element there. That's going to be the active element here. You can also put that active there, but I prefer it like this. Here I'm going to remove this array. What I want to do with this is I just want to give like a dash here like this, and probably give 300 like this for that slash. So with this now I think everything is okay. Let's go to our page now. Here we're going to replace this crate with that breadcrumb. Here I'm going to call breadcrumb here. The first is going to be orders here. This is going to be dashboard slash orders, and here create. I'm going to remove this. Okay, from here also you can also go to the dashboard, but I don't want to go to the dashboard here. We'll just leave 2 levels down. From the dashboard now you can find your way out of this order here. So I'm just going to remove this code for dashboard here, remove one of this. and active here is true. Yes, this is okay. Now let's go and check. Okay, we have create here, and this last slash here. Okay, let me see what's happening here. Active, yes. Come to orders, yes. Let's come back to create. We need to remove one of this here. Let's check our code. Let's go back to breadcrumbs. Here we need to say breadcrumbs dot length -1. Yes, -1, because the length here is different from the index, so it's higher than the index by 1, so we need to subtract the 1 from here. And what can I do here again? Yes, we need to give a margin x of like 3. Let's go back. Okay, it's looking better now. This is create here, and this is orders. You can come to orders. You see this one is active now. You can come here. Okay, let's go to create. Yes, fine. Now we have our create. Let's take care of the editing now. Let's take care of the edit order. Now let's go and create our edit page. We'll come back here. Let's go to edit. This is create, but first the edit is going to look very similar like the create here. So I'm going to just copy this main here. I'll copy this. Let's go to, this is edit here. Okay, here. Now remember here that we were spreading this to create dynamic params here. Now I can adjust this. You can adjust this by removing this spread operator here, so that it should not match any route after this ID here. It shouldn't match any route after this ID we have here. So you can remove this spread operator here. So let's come to the page here. We're already getting our search params here. Everything is here. Now I just need to replace all of this with what I copied. I'm going to bring in my up bar here. This create here, we're not going to use, but this create order, we're going to have our own for edit order. So I'm going to just remove this for now. And for the up bar, we need to bring in the up bar and the breadcrumb. So I'll bring in the up bar and the breadcrumb as well. The breadcrumb is going to be doing the same here. You can go to the orders here, and also you can go to, this is the current directory which is active, but this is not going to be create here. This is going to be /orders here. Let me just give like this. Remove this. Since this is dynamic route, we need to put in our ID here. This is going to be like this. Instead of create order here, we're going to have here edit order. Edit order. Now coming to still in the orders here, we need to create our edit orders here. We need to create our edit orders. For that, I'm just going to duplicate this create order here. I'll just copy here and I'll paste it here. And I'm just going to rename this to edit dash order. Okay, here instead of order create here, I'll say order edit. Okay, fine. Now we just need to change some things here. Let's start with this first one here. This is going to be latitude. I'll just say latitude. But for this latitude, we're going to make it a read-only file here. So the type here is going to be actually a text. HTML4 here is going to be latitude, and the placeholder here doesn't matter, but let's just put latitude here. The most important thing is we need to make this a read-only like this. Yes. Now I'm going to do the same thing for this one. This is going to be longitude, and here this is longitude text. It's also going to be read only, and this is going to be longitude like this. Now for destination, this is called location here, and just say enter your location, enter current package, enter package location, enter package location. The type is going to be string, and here this is going to be let's say location. It'll be more explanatory if we say current location like this. Okay, now we need to give another here. This is going to be for the current date. This is actually going to hold the date and time. What does I say current date? I'll just say arrival date and time like this. And here I'm just going to give the HTML for as arrival date, the placeholder here. Let's just put it away. Enter arrival date and time, and the type here is going to be this is going to be a calendar, something like that. So it's going to be date time local. Let's see if we have it here. Okay, this is it, date time local. We are also going to need two more groups for the carrier and the carrier number. So this one is going to be for carrier. Here, this is going to be a text. Say enter carrier's name. This is going to just say carrier, and this is going to be for carrier's number. Like this, and this is going to be a text. Enter carrier's number, and here this is going to be carrier's number. Okay, fine. With that, that section is done. Now we need one more section here for our status. We need one more section for our status, which is going to be the field set. We're going to use a field set for that. So I'm going to remove this. So we're going to remove this. So we're going to define a field set here. So say field set like this. I'll give it class name. Width is going to be full, and in here I'm going to give a legend. Yes, legend. This legend here, I'm going to say set the order status. We have the class name, margin bottom of 2, block, font medium. After this legend, we are going to have a div like this. I'll give it, okay, it's already in the class name. Rounded is going to be MD. Border gray. This is going to be border gray of 200, and background white. Padding, I want to say 14 pixels, and py of 4. So in here I'm going to create another div here. I'll say flex. Let's give a gap of 4, and flex wrap. While in here yet another div, flex item center. Then in here we can now have our input. The type here is going to be a radio. This is going to be a radio button here. ID, I'll just say pending. Name, I'll give this to status, and also let's give some class names here. The height is going to be 4, width is going to be 4. On focus, I want to give an outline of none, and cursor pointer, border gray of 300, background. Background is going to be gray of 100, and text is going to be gray of 600. Okay, 600 like this. Focus ring 2. After this input, we need to give a label, and this label is just going to read pending. Okay, this is going to be pending. Cursor is going to be pointer. Instead of this margin, I want to give like px-3. Now we can just copy this. Let's copy down this. I'll paste it here. For the ID here, I'm just going to say shipped like this, and here there's one thing I forgot to give here, the value. I'll just say the value here is going to be pending, and also I'll give a value here of on the way. We are calling this on the way, and here I'll just say on the way. I'm going to copy this again because we have 3 status. The last is going to be for delivered status. The value here is going to be delivered, and here is going to be delivered. So I think this is all. Anything that needs to be added, we're going to add it when we are working on this edit order. So here, why is this off here? I remove it. Instead of create here, we just say edit order. Okay, now let's see, we need to bring now this edit order into our edit page here. After this h1, we need to bring in our order edit, and we need to pass in an ID to this order edit here. Though yes, we will need to pass in an ID there. Yes, we need to pass in an ID here, but for now we can just remove it because we don't need it now. We'll do that when we are working on the edit here. So with this now, this edit is going to be working. So let's go and check it out. So to check that out, let's come to orders. We have the edit button here. If we click on it, let's see, yes, it takes us to the edit page here. We have latitudes, longitudes, and here we have the current location, the carrier number, and this are our orders here. You can click here, it's delivered. Okay, everything is pending. We need to change that when we click on that text. Let's come to edit order here. Let's come to this fields here. Type is radio. We need to change the label here to delivered, and also here, since we are given the ID, let's see, okay, this is this one. Since we are giving the ID to shipped, we need to change the label, the HTML for here to shipped like this. So with this setup now, I think we are in a pretty comfortable situation to start working on this form here. Okay, if you click on delivered, yes, okay, everything is working fine now. So the edit is working fine now. We can now begin to see how we can use server actions in order to create these forms and these pages and all of that. So that is what we are going to be doing. Now we are going to look at server actions. So before we go and write something about server actions, let's first of all understand what server actions are. let's get some key things in our mind before we move forward. Here, I'll come to the slides here. Now, you say server actions key points. Here, they say server actions run a synchronous code directly on the server, thereby eliminating the need to create API endpoints. So, as you can see here, it's very clear here that server actions, they run directly on the server. That means they're executed on the server. And they eliminate the need for you to create API endpoints that talk with your server or with your database directly. So you can just write the code that is being executed directly on the server. So that is server actions. So server components support progressive enhancement with server actions. This SA here stands for server actions. So what are what's progressive enhancement? This means that if you have a form in a server component, that form can be submitted even if JavaScript hasn't been loaded yet, or even if JavaScript is being disabled from your browser. You can still submit that form, provided that that server action is provided that form is a server component. Yes, so you can submit that form even if JavaScript is not yet loaded, or even JavaScript is disabled from your browser. We are going to see that very soon. So that is server action. That's another important point you can note about server action. The third one here is in client components, forms invoking server actions would quail submission if JavaScript isn't loaded yet, prioritizing client hydration. So what this is simply saying here is that in a client component, what server actions will do is that it's going to create submission. That means if you submit a form that JavaScript hasn't loaded yet, it's not going to be executed immediately like in a server component. It's going to push it to a particular location. You wait until hydration occur on that page. Then that form is going now to be submitted. Now, when the form is submitted at that point, it's not going to reload the whole page again. No, it just send the form directly to where the server. Yes, it just send the data directly to the server. No reloading of the form again. So that's what happens with client component. Then the fourth here we have is server actions are not limited to forms. They can be invoked from use effects, handlers, event handlers, third-party libraries, etc. So here it is pretty clear that we don't use server actions only on forms. Yes, you can invoke them from event handlers or even from use effect, because they run both. You can invoke them both on the client and on the server. That is both on server components and on client components. That is where you can invoke server actions. So they're not limited only to server components. You can invoke them on client components also and in server components. So they can be used anywhere in your app and passed down as prop to client component. As I just told you, you can use them anywhere, whether in client component or in server component. And you can also pass them down to client component as props. So I think this is everything. This is not everything, but this is the essential things you need to know about server actions. We'll talk more about server actions as we begin to work with them. We're going to see some things about server actions. Now let's go over to our code and see how we can create a server action. How is a server action created with Next.js? So let's go right back here. Okay, this was our edit form here. I'm going to come here. I create a new. Come to the lib here. We have this prisma.txt. I'm going to create a new file here. In the lib here, I'll call this actions. Actions.ts here, like this. And the first thing I'll do here is I'll just say use server. So by just putting use server here, every function you are going to create in this file is going to be a server action. So that is just what is needed. Every function which you create inside this file, this action file, is going to be a server action. That means you can invoke it on the client, you can call it on the client, no problem. So let's start by creating a function that is going to create our orders for us. A function that's going to create our orders. As I told you before, here we don't have anywhere we are, our users are creating an order. So we are going to manually create the order here. Yes, so here I'll just say export or export. Oh, what is this? Export here. I'm going to just give here, instead of get to do's here, I'll say create order. This is asynchronous. Yes, this has to be an asynchronous function here. So here we just have to put async. Now, since we are going to be submitting the form, we can take a parameter here. Let's say form data, which we are going to pass in from the client here. We'll just take, it's going to be a type of form data. What I want to do is I want to just lock that form data now, so that we see that everything which we are going to get from submitting a form is going to be in this form data. Now we can just go and we'll call this create order in our create order component here. So where are we going to call this? You see this form input here, you see this form element here, we have this action attribute. This is where we are going to pass that create order action. This is create order here. We just pass the create order action. See, this is where it's coming from, app/lib/actions. So you just pass it here, and Next.js is going to call it. You don't need to call it here, just pass it like this. And let's check this by going to our browser. This is edit. Let's come to create order here. Yep, I'm going to choose a file, or choose this, open, destination. Let me just set this to Paris like that, and description, just give some random text, name, price. Let's hit create. You see, I created, but nothing happened. The form didn't really submit it. We didn't call anything, so the form is just as if nothing happened. So let's go and check, but actually something happens here. Let's come to actions. Voila, you see, we have the data here. Look, this is the image 4402.jpg here. The type here, this is the MIME type image slash JPEG. We have the product name, description, price, and this description and this destination here. So you see, we have the data here. Now what I want to do now is, let's try to disable JavaScript from here. Let's try to disable JavaScript in our browser. So for that, I'll come to where is that? Let's go to click this ellipse button here, come to settings, and come to privacy and security, then go to site settings. Yes, come to JavaScript here, just click on it. You see the option to, the default here is set to use JavaScript. You can say don't allow site to use JavaScript here. Just click on it and come back to your application. Okay, this is it. Let's reload this application. Yes, now we have disabled JavaScript. Try to submit the form again by clicking destination. I'm going to set it to Washington DC here. Description, I'll just give some random description here, just like this. The product name here, let's just say print def logo, and price here I'll set to 40. Let's create. Okay, let's go back to the application and see. Yes, you see, we have 10 data now. Let's check the data. Let's check here. We have the image, the product name. The product name here is, this one is this beautiful necklace. No, let's see. Okay, yes, this is the data here. This is the data here. This first one is the data here. We have the product name here, which is Queen Def logo. Yes, and the destination here is Washington DC. Yes, just like we said. The price here is 40. Description here is UUU. So this is a file. So you see that we are able to submit the form even when JavaScript is being disabled on our in our application. So that is why I said that it support progressive enhancement. So you see, now with this data, we can use this data now to actually create an order in our database. I use the data to create an order in our database. But before we do that, let's go back and set JavaScript, because it's a bad idea to disable JavaScript from your browser. A lot of things are not going to work in your browser. So set back sites to use JavaScript. So I'm going to close that. I'll come here, refresh. It's asking to resubmit the form. Just say continue. Okay, JavaScript now is set back again. Now what I want to do is, let's start with our image, because there are some certain things we're going to do here. Let's start by working with the product image. Let's see how we can upload an image to Cloudinary. We are going to be using Cloudinary again here for this tutorial. We're going to use Cloudinary. So let's get to it. Let's go back to the application. Start by installing Cloudinary. I'm going to install Cloudinary here. You see, this is the result of the things we logged here. I'll come to this other tab here. I'll just say npm install cloudinary is going to install the latest version of cloudinary. Let's wait a bit. Okay, it's installed. Now let's go to cloudinary website to take our secrets. Let's see, I'll type here cloudinary. I need to log in. Let me refresh here. Let me just go to my console. Okay, this is it here. Now what I want you to do is come here where you can get page is unavailable. Sorry, some technical issues. Okay, what is happening with cloudinary here? Okay, this is it here. So here now you see the API key, API secret, and your cloud name. You're going to need these three things here. So copy these three things here: your API key, API secret, and your cloud name. So I already copied mine, and you come to your .env, open your .env file. Let's go to .env here, and you paste the secrets here. So here I'm going to say cloudinary dash cloud name. I'll just give the cloud name here to be like this, the key and my secret. So you can go ahead and give your key and secret here. Put your key and your secret here. These are not my array keys and secret, so I'm going to put my array keys and secret after we are done from this here, after I've shown you this section. If you come back to the actions here, this is where we are going to configure cloudinary. First, let's import it. I'll say import. Okay, I still have cap lock. Import. I'll say from cloudinary. So what are we going to be importing from cloudinary here? I'll say v2. I'll just call this as cloudinary. So like this. Now we need to configure this cloudinary down here. We need to configure it. Say cloudinary.config here. Now in this configuration we need to pass the cloud name, and you know where the cloud name is going to come from our environment variable. Since this is the server, there is no we don't have any fear of passing our environment variable like this, so we are not going to prefix it with next this and that. So we're just going to write it like this, and the second is going to be the API key, which is my cloudinary, the API key. Then the secret is going to be cloudinary underscore secret. So this here, these are the main things you need to pass here. You can also pass here secure. Let's just say secure to be true. So with this, let's create now a function that's going to upload our images. Let's create a function that will upload our images here. I'll say async. This is going to be an asynchronous function. Upload image. Now this upload image is going to take, it's not going to take an image directly. We're going to process our image later. So what we're going to pass in this upload image function is going to be an image buffer. We're going to pass an image buffer here. Image buffer. This is going to be of type string, and also we are going to be passing a MIME type here, which is going to be of type string as well. So let's look at the logic to upload our images here. So the first thing I'm going to create, I'll just say var file URL. You can set that to let or const. This is going to be data MIME type data, semicolon. You pass the MIME type which you're going to receive from here. Semicolon, this is column, semicolon, then you pass base 64 there, and then you pass the image buffer. This is going to give us the file URL. Now after this, you just say const upload result is equals to await cloudinary dot upload await cloudinary dot uploader dot upload. Here in this upload, now we need to pass in that file URL. So it's a file URL, yes, and we need to pass in some options as well. We need to pass in some options here. So what options am I going to be passing here? The first here is going to be we're going to check whether the invalidity here invalid, and you can also set the folder where you want these images to be stored. So for the folder here, I'm just going to say tracker YouTube, because I already have a tracker in my cloudinary. Listen, in my cloudinary console, I already have a tracker folder there. So I'll just say tracker YouTube, okay, like this. Now this is not yet done. We want to be able to handle errors if any error occur during the uploading process. So what we can do is we're going to wrap this in a new promise. We're going to create our own promise here. I'll say here a new promise here. Say promise like this. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all of this here. So I'll cut like all of this. Yes. I'll put it in here like this. This await is not going to be here. What I'll do is I'll just put this await here, and the result of this will be this, like this. Okay, it's like this now. Now if we want to get type safety from this response here, what we need to do is we need to provide a type for this promise here. I'll say this is going to be a type of upload API response. This is upload API response. This is it coming from cloudinary, as you can see here. Okay, now this upload method, it takes another argument here, which is actually a callback that takes the result and an error here. So we need to provide, okay, this closes here, we come here, this is going to be, yes, an error and a response like this. So what we need to do is we'll come here, we check if there is an error, we need to reject that error. Else here I need to check again if result, then we need to resolve that result. If there is a result, we need to resolve the result. Let's see, yes. Else we need to reject the result here, and the text I'm going to give here is, I'll just say I'll give a new error, like no result from cloudinary. So this is going to be, yes, we don't care about the type for the error here, so we can just remove the type for this error like this. Okay, now this is how we are going to upload the images here to in cloudinary. If we then come now to the create method here, I'll remove that console log over there. I'll say const file here. This is going to be from data.get file here as file. This is going to be an image because we call this as an image in our create action. So if you come here, let me show you. This is it, HTML4. We pass it as an image. So you need to give the same name here, image. Now we need to create our buffer. So const array buffer. We say file.array buffer. Yes, and there's a const image buffer. This is going to be buffer from, then you pass the array buffer into it, then you convert it to string, which is going to be a base 64, just as we specified here, base 64 here. So now that we have this image buffer, we can use it now to upload our file. So here I'll just say const image buffer. No, here I'll just say image. This is going to be our image, and I'll say upload image. We pass our image buffer and the file type. The file type is coming from here, file.type. So here I can just await the result here. Okay, now there is one thing here. Remember, we created this method, but look at this upload result. We are not doing anything with it, so we need to return something from this upload image here. So you say return upload result dot secure URL. You see, we have IntelliSense now for it. Now we are returning the secure URL from here. Now if you upload our image, let's log this image to the console. Let's go and try to upload now an image to see if this is going to work. So let's go and test it. I'll come here. Let's choose a file. I'm going to choose, let me see. Yes, I'll choose this one. Here, I'll just give this text, just some random text here. And I hit create. Yes, let's check our, okay, you see, we have our image here. This is our cloudinary image here. This is it. Let's check in the cloudinary itself and see if we're going to have the image. If you come to cloudinary here, come to let me see. Okay, this is the image here. This is it. And one thing, let's check the folder in which this image is in. Let's come to folders. Yes, you see, we have the folder here. This YouTube tracker. This is it. Open. Yes, you see, it is in this tracker dash YouTube folder. This is the image here, which we just uploaded. After successfully uploading an image, let's try now to see if we can upload a new record to our database. So I'm going to remove this console log here, and what I'm going to do is also const here. I'll say order data the first thing I'm going to get here is a product name. This is from data dot get product name. Here I'll say as a string. The second is going to be the product image, which is going to be the image we just from creating, and we have a destination, which is going to come from the form data. We have a description, yes, which is going to come from form data. We have price here is going to be a number, and what other thing we need again? We need a user ID here. Now for now, this user ID, we are going to get this user ID when we do authentication, but for now I'm just going to hard code this user ID to let's say 1. So let's first check our users first. If you come to SQLite here, if you don't see the Explorer, this SQLite Explorer, what you can do is you press Control Shift P, and then you choose SQLite Open Database. It's going to show you the Prisma database. You click on it. Now you're going to see the SQLite Explorer down here. You click on it, open users. Yes, you see these are the various users here. You can choose either the IDs. You can choose one of the ID here to create the record with. So I'm just going with number 1 here. So I'm going to close back this SQLite Explorer. Here we have all of this information. Let's just see if we are there is something we are not putting here in that information. Let's come to Prisma schema here to create an order. Okay, we need all of this. Okay, if you look here, guys, you see that we are passing category here. We are still passing category here. This, we should not be doing this here. This category which we are passing here, we should not be doing this here. So I'm going to remove this category here. We have an error in the Prisma schema now. Okay, we need to remove this category module. Remember that we use this category just for demonstration purposes. Yes, so I'm going to remove it. Let's see the things we need to pass here. Description, the price, yes, destination, string, we already passed this. Status, pending. Yes, that's the default. Created at. Okay, we have updated add. This updated add property here, what you can do with this is you just set it or set the default for this. I'm just going to set this to add updated at update add, say add update add. Yes, so this is going to set, whenever we change this record, it's just automatically going to set the time in which the record was changed. So no need for us to provide it in our schema. In when creating the order, we don't need to provide this when we are creating the order. So that's why I'm providing the updated add property here. So let's say we have the user ID. Okay, let's also check down here. Because what we are going to be doing is we are going to also be creating the tracking when we are creating an order. So we need to make sure that we also provide some values here. So if you look here, all of this here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this as optional here. Yes, and also for this arrival time here, this is going to be okay. We're already setting the default here. It's okay. Now we just need to make this optional, because I want that whenever I'm creating a tracking order, the only thing I need to specify there should be the location. So even with the location here, we can also even provide the default for this location. Why not? Let's just provide a default for this location, so that when we are creating an order, we should just create a tracker also with the default values for the tracker. Yes, I'll just give a default here. This is going to be I'll just say unknown, like this. So what will happen now is that when we are creating an order, we are just going to create the tracker at once, the tracking information at once, using the default settings we have provided here. Yes, we're going to do it using the default settings which we have provided in this tracking information. So now, since we have changed our schema, we need to let's run a migration. We need to run a migration. So this is the migration here, npx prisma migrate dev dash name. We need to give the name of the migration here. I'm just going to say changed tracking order. So I'm just trying to give a more descriptive name to the changes we have made here, and just hit enter. It's telling us that it's going to restart SQLite and it's going to delete all our data. So let's say yes, because it's going to install back our data with a new migration. Okay, let's see what's happened here. Your database is now in sync with your schema. It ran our migration here. The seed data has been executed, so everything is back in place. So what we need to do here is, let's come back to create here. I'll just run a try catch block here. In this catch, I just want to lock whatever error we are going to get. If our creation didn't succeed, we want to throw back this error, say error creating the order. Now in this try catch block here, this is where we are going to be creating our order. So I'll say await prisma dot order dot create. Here we need to pass data here. So here in this data, I'm just going to spread this order data here. Say this is it, I'm spreading here. As you can see, we have the destination, product name, product image, destination, description, price, and yes, you have all of that. Now I need to also create the tracking information. So tracking here, create like this. We don't need to pass the user information here. I'll remove this. Even the status here, pending, we just need to create, just pass an empty object to this create, to this create object here. Just pass an empty object like this, because we have default fields for that. Now let's see what this is complaining about here. Property updated at is missing in type tracking. Create. Property updated at is missing in type tracking. Create. Okay, let's see. Let's go to our schema and see what we are doing with that property updated at. But we are already setting the default for this property updated at here. So let's try to restart our development server and see. Just want to restart the development server. Maybe any changes we have done can be picked up. Okay, you see the error now is gone. The error is gone. So we just need to reload our development server. Yeah. So with this now, I think we can go and see if we can create an order in our database. So I'll go to, let's come here. Okay, this is our create file here. I'm going to click, I'll choose this one here, open. Destination, I'm just going to set it to this address here. Description, let me just give some random text here. Product name, I'll use a QueenDev logo. Price is just going to be, I'll say 25. Hit create. Okay, nothing happens. That means we actually create our data. Let's check here. Okay, we didn't receive any errors. So to actually check if we actually create the data, let's come to the SQLite Explorer here, or click here. Let's come to orders. These are our various migration here. This is the migration we're just from creating. So let's come to orders here. Okay, let's go down. Yes, you see, this is the order which we are just from created, because if you look at all the orders, they are just numbers. Yes, the orders which we see are numbers, but look at the order which we are creating. We created now is this string. The ID is this string here. So you see that we are successfully creating the order. You see the email. Look at the image address here. This is the tracker YouTube. This is the image name which we just created here. You see, this is the product name here. This QueenDev logo. See, and this is the description which we gave. Okay, and this is the address here. So we are able to create a record in our database. You can go and check it also in the Prisma Studio, which Prisma provides for us. But now we are able to create a record. This is good now. What I want us to do is, let's take care of our address before we are moving forward, because before we move forward, we need to make sure that we provide a good input for users to type their address without any errors. So what I want to do is, let me show you. Instead of the user just passing their address here, we want to make this input here. Want to use the places API in order to provide a place where users can type their address and choose the address which they want there. So we are going to use the places API for that. So let's go back to the application. Let's come back here. We need to install some few packages here. The first thing I'm going to install here is our places API. I'll say npm install use-places. This is use places. No, places dash auto complete. Make sure you type this like this. Use places autocomplete. Yes, let's hit enter. Okay, it's installed. There is another package which we need to install. Let me check it from npm to load our script, to load the Google script here. So I'll just type here let's say Google Map API loader Okay, this is it. Let's click on it. Now we are going to install this package here. What this package will do is that it's going to load the Google Map script into our Next.js application for us. So I'm going to copy this installation here. I'll copy it. Let's bring it to application. Paste it. Now, since we are working with TypeScript, we need to install also the type definition for that. So the type here, you see, if you're working with TypeScript, you need to install this here for your type definitions from Google. So we're going to copy it. We need to install it too. See, we are installing this as a dev dependency here because it's just for type definitions. Okay, we have everything we need here. Now we can leave this action section. Let me clean everything up here. Control K, W. So what I want to do is, I just want to use the input which we have, our input group which we currently have. This is it, this input group. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use this input group and extend that functionality which we want from this input group here. So I'm going to create a new file here. I'll call this places that search .txs, places search, see rfce places search. Okay, places search like this. So what I want is, we'll come to this group input. I'm first going to copy our interface here, and I'll bring it here. We also need to import our CL library like this. Now I'll also copy our props here. So why we are doing it like this is because we want to have something uniform in our application. Yep. So now I'm just going to copy this div, and here we are going to paste this div here. Okay, now we have a replica of this input here. Now I'm going to remove this. Now this is where we are going to put that that API here, that places search API. We're going to use it here. Now before we do that, we need to get our API key from Google. So if you go back here, let's try, let's say Google Map API key. Oh, let's see. Let's go to your console. I think you're going to need to choose the application which you are working on here. You see, these are the various applications. So mine is this tracker here. I already have it here. It comes to API and services. Okay, it's taking some time to load. Okay, it's loaded. Here, come to credentials. Come to credentials and click on show key. Yes, this is our key here. I'm going to copy it. Please do not use my key here. So I'll copy this key. I'll come back to the application. Let's open a .env file. .env. This is where we are going to paste our API key. Now, since we are working with Next.js and we are going to be using this key in a client's component, so what we need to do is we need to prefix this key with next public. So what I'll just do here, we'll give like this. I'll say next public. Oh no, this is not cloudinary name. Next public. Here we'll say Google API key, and I'm going to paste the API key here. Okay, we have the API key here now. I'm going to copy it because we're going to need it very soon. We'll come back here. Now the first thing I need to do here is I need to load that script, that Google map script here. I need to load it into this application. So to do that here, I'm just going to say const. Okay, we still have our cap lock here. I'll say const loader. This is going to be loader is equals to a new loader. See where this loader is coming from. You need to take it from this Google Maps JS API loader. So it's going to load our script for us. The first thing we need to provide here is an API key here, and you know where this is going to come from our environment variable here .env dot. I'm going to paste it now. Oh yes, process.env next public Google API key. I will need to just set it as a string here. Version here is going to be weekly, and libraries is going to be places API. So with this, I'll just say loader. Now first thing foremost, since here we are in a client component here, since we are only using these libraries which are client components stuffs, we need to pass use client here. If not, we're going to get into an error. So use client. Okay, we are good now to work on this section however we want. So here I'll say loader dot here. Okay, this load method is been depreciated, so what we're going to use is this import libraries here. And import libraries, it's expecting us to pass the library which we want to use. I want to use the places API, just like this. And here just say then. So we need to handle this promise here like this. If an error occur, I'll just say catch. What we want to do is let's just log the error to the console here like this. Now we don't need this Google here. What we need to do here is we need to initialize our places autocomplete package whenever we load this script. Whenever we load this script, we need to initialize our places autocomplete API. So we're going to do that shortly after. This is called eager loading. So we want to wait until this library, our API is loaded before we can use that places autocomplete package. So what we need to do here is let's first bring in that package. Let's say use places autocomplete here, and here we need to bring in some few things, the required options. Here I'll say the bounds is going to be 300 here. What else thing we need here? Default values. We need to pass some default values here too. Say default values here. I'm going to pass in the default value here as well. Default value optional string. I'll bring it here. Default values. So I'm just going to pass the default value here like this. Voila. We need to bring in also some things here. Let's say I'll say const. This is const. We need to destructure some properties here which we are going to use. It's going to be very much help for us. So the first I'm going to take here is this init here. As I told you, we're going to use this init to eagerly load this package when our Google API script is being loaded. So that is where we are going to use this init now here. I'll just say init. So yes, when our script is loaded, that's when we're going to load this place API. Okay, with that done, let's see, we are getting init here. We also need to get some properties here already. We need to get the value. We need to get set value to set value. We need to get suggestions. Now this suggestion, we can destructure two things from this suggestion. We have data and status. Yes. Also, last thing we need here also is we also need to clear suggestions. Yes, we need to clear our suggestions. Okay, now here I'll need to pass in some of those options here, because this is our input which we are going to be using here. So I need to pass. I'll just first say type is going to be a text, and value is going to be value, and on change, or just say on change here, on change E is such that we want to set value to event the target.value. Yes. We also want this input here to be disabled if this package is not yet loaded. If our package is not loaded, we want this form here to be disabled. Here, I'll just say if disabled if it's not ready. Remember, we are getting this ready from our package here. So, okay, these are the main things we need to do here. Now, let's think about what we need to do. When we start searching for address, what are we going to do? So, I'll just create a function here. I'll say const handle select okay, let's just leave this handle select for now. So what I want us to do is let's use that data to actually see if we can get some data here. I'll say data dot, if only there is data, yes, dot map here. We're going to get a suggestion here. What I want to do with this is I just want to lock this suggestion to the console. Let's see. For now, let's just lock the suggestion dot. You see, we have this structured formatting here. We have description here, but let's just lock the description here for now. Let's go to our application and see if we're going to receive something. Let's reload. Oh, right now we can't see anything. We can't see anything here because we have not replaced this destination field. Yes, we need to replace that destination with our input. So I'm going to come back here. I need to replace that destination with this our places search here. So let's go to where we are creating an order. This is dashboard. This is order create here. Where do we have destination? Okay, yes. Instead of input group here, I'm going to say places search. Yes, we're going to bring the places search here. Okay, we don't need to pass the type here because we already passed the type here there. Now let's go and check. Okay, we received an error, but it's okay. Now let's type, let's just say what. Let's go back to application to see if we're going to receive. Okay, yes, you see, we see some suggestions here. See, we have some suggestions here. That means it's actually working. Our script was loaded and it's actually working. So with this working now, what I want to do is let's handle this select. What happens when a user select one of these address which we are going to be typing here. Okay, now let's work with this handle select. Now this handle select, I'm going to get the description here. Remember this description here, this suggestion, the description. This is the description which we are getting here, and this is going to be of type here description is of type string here. And what I'm going to do is I'll just set the value to description here. I'll set value. Remember where this set value is coming from. It's coming from this here. This is set value. It's coming from our places autocomplete. So we are just setting the value to the description here, and we are clearing our suggestion after that. Now, this is not all I want to do here. I also want to get the geocoding data here. I want to get the latitude and the longitude here. So this is get latitude and longitude via utilities functions here. So I'll say get geocode here. Now this geocode is going to take an address here. We'll pass in the description to that address. Now since this function is going to return a promise here, we'll just say then, and the result like this, and const, we want to destructure the latitude and the longitude. Here I'll say lat, comma, long. No, this is not what we're going to do here. We're going to say get a lat long. You see, it's coming from places autocomplete. All of this we are doing here is coming from places autocomplete, and we just need to pass the result, and we get the first option from that array. So it's going to give us the latitude and the longitude. For now, I don't want to do something with it. I'm going to lock it because there is still some work we need to do with it here. I just want to lock the latitude and the longitude to our console window here for now. Now let's come here. Let's work now on this. What happens? This is when we select one of these options. Now let's see how we can render these options to the screen. Let's see how we can render our options to the screen here. So with that, I'm just going to create a new function of the const render suggestions here, and I'll copy this and I'll paste it in here. Here I'm going to return whatever we get from here. Remember these suggestions, right? I'm going to remove this console.log here. We don't need it now. So what I'll do is I need to destructure some things from these suggestions, okay, like this. Now this from suggestion, remember I told you that this suggestion, it contains this structured formatting, and inside this structured formatting we have this main text and secondary text here. So here we are just returning this list item here, and we are returning this list here. We are passing the key. The key is this place ID here, and this is just, we're just providing some stylings here. We are putting the main text in a strong element here so that it stand to make it stand out, to highlight it, while the secondary text here, which we are getting from here, we are putting it in this small here to give it a smaller typeface. Yeah, so this is how we are going to render our suggestions here. Everything here is okay. So with this now, we need to come right down to where, so let's see. Yes, we need to declare this before we call this function. So I'm going to cut this and now bring it up here. Okay, now let's come just below this input. This is where we need to render this component here. We need to render this component here. We are going to check if status is okay. If status is equals to okay, remember we brought also this status from here. If you look, this is the status here we are getting. So this status, we are checking if status is equals to okay. Then we just want to render this suggested list in an unordered element here. So with this now, I think we'll be able to see our suggestions in our console window. So let's go and type. Let's see. Let's go back to application here. Let's try to type for something. Let's say wadong. Voila. You see, we see the suggestions here. You see, these are the suggestions here. Let's say we want this. If you click on it, yeah, you have the address here. If you don't want this, let's say Carolina. Yes, you see, we have it here, Carolina Springs, Australia. So you see that we are able to get our address here. Now let's check something. Yes, you see, we are getting also the latitude and the longitude. We are going to use this latitude and this longitude after, very soon, but not now. So our address, we are able to get our address perfectly, but this, we want to make this here actually reusable, because when we ship our goods to the users, we need to also change the location of that good. We need to show the user where that good is currently at. So with that, we are still going to be using this input box here in order to search, in order to change the location. Yes, you can do it here, and you can also do it on the map which we are going to provide. So to do it here, we need to make this input as reusable as possible. So what I'm going to do is, here I'll come to props here. I'm going to put another property here, and I'll just call this property we'll say is edit, to check if we are editing here. Is edit is going to be optional, and it's going to be boolean here, and I'll also bring is edit here. So what I will do with that is edit is that here I'll come here, I'm going to check if is edit. If is edit, what we want to do, we are going to do something different here. Else else we need to do everything we just did. Now we are going to do it here. If we are not editing, yes, we just want to get the description here. But if we are editing, want to do something else, that means in this here I'm going to bring in some additional property in this description field here. So apart from description here, I'm also going to bring structured formatting here. Remember, we had that structure formatting. Now in structure formatting, this contains our main text. It contains our main text. So I'm going to give like this. I'll say main text. Yeah. Now we need to provide the types for this here as well. So here we'll say structured. This is not like this. Cut this. Also structured formatting. This is formatting. It has a main text which is a string. So the main text there is a string. Okay. So now in this else block, what we need to do is we need to set the value to the main text and we clear the suggestion. Now it is in this if block here. If we are editing here, we need to get the geodata, because when we are creating the order, we don't need this geodata here. So I'm going to cut this. We'll bring it here. Yes, when we are editing, this is where we need to get this geodata from. But wait, if we are getting this geodata here, that means we need a place to store this geodata, and there are many options. We can use what we have been using before, or you can also use state, because this is actually a client component here. So you can use state to store what we have been doing here, but I'm not going to be using use state. I'm going to continue with what we have been doing. So we are going to bring our three best friends here. You know the best friends I'm talking about here. We have use. The first here is going to be use search params here. I'll say const search. This is search params. Make sure you get this search param from next navigation here. Since we are here, we'll say use path name. That's the next friend we're going to use here, and we use router. So these are the guys we've been using. So we'll continue to use them there. So I'll just say const par. No. This is path name. Yes. And for this router, we need to get here replace. Okay, now let's come down here. Okay, this is where we need to use them here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'll just const params. It's going to be a new URL search params. Then we pass our search params to it. We have done this a lot of times, so this shouldn't be new to you now. So we say params.set latitude. We want to set the latitude to lat.string, yeah, and the longitude, set it to longitude string. Then we want to navigate back to the same URL when we are editing like this. So replace the path name and params.toString. We navigate back to this URL. So with this now, I think this component now is fully reusable during our edit and during our creation. So this is it. So this was a lot of code to write here, but just take your time. Take your time and go through the code again. It's straightforward. Yes, I know it's a lot, but it is just basic stuff. You can look at the documentation also. I showed you where the documentation is. You can look at it and you see how it's been implemented. So one thing before we actually go is that we need to, this is edit. Let's just set it to false by default here. The default is going to be false. Yeah, that means we don't need to provide it here when we are creating an order. So let's check again. We'll say what done. Okay, yes, here is it. Now there is one thing I don't want this to be up here like this, because it's not good here. And look at, it's expanding right away down to our screen. Look at something. I didn't even say this before. So what we need to do is let's adjust this here. So let's go back, come back here. This is happening where we are rendering the suggestions here. Let's see, render suggestions. Okay, this is happening here. So here I'm just going to remove this absolute here, absolute position. Let's go back and check. I think that's the class that was disturbing. Yep, you see, this is it now. This one is okay. Yeah, this is okay. Yes. So with this now, we can create and we can search our input fields. Now that we have our input all set up, we have our input, all our inputs are working, and we are actually able to create an order. Now, the next question in mind is, are we just going to sit down, fold our arms, and expect the users to provide the values of this input as we intend? Obviously not, because not every user out there has a good intention visiting your application. So what we can do in that case is we can validate these input fields on the client, or we can validate them on the server. So what I used to do is I go for both. I do client-side validation and I also do server validation on the server. Now, because client-side validation can quickly be bypassed, but upon reaching the server, which is actually your safe space, it is a little bit more difficult. So, and besides, server validation is going to act as your last line of defense if you have if you set up both the client and the server validation. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to do a server validation. We're going to provide validations for these input fields that we have here. The required input fields, we are going to provide validation for them. Let's head to our code and see how we can add an extra layer of security to our application. So I'll come here. Okay, this is our place search here. I'll come to actions here, in actions, but before that we need to install a package. Yes, so I'll wire this all up. I'm going to install an npm package here. So npm install, we'll call it Zot. We're going to use Zot for validation on the server. So what Zot will do is that it's going to provide us with some, okay, it's installed with a schema that we can use to validate our inputs fields, and also it's very good for type. It works very well with TypeScript. So I'm going to hide this back. I'm also going to hide this to give us more room here. Okay, like this. Now the first thing you need to do with Zot is to create a schema. So I'll say first I need to import Zot. So import, I'll just call Zot for Z from Zot. Now as a const, order schema says Zot.object. That is how you create a schema with Zot. Now here we can pass our the fields which we want to validate for. So here we are passing the product name. Yes, it's going to be a string. So Zot.toString here. The destination string, description string, price is going to be a number, and user ID is going to be a string. Now with this, what we can further do here is just like this. Now if you leave these fields like this, it's not going to do you very much here. The only thing is that if you try to specify a different type here, that's when you're going to get a validation error. So if you want to get a custom validation error here, you can say required error, then you pass the validation error here. Product name is required, like this. You can do it like this. So yes, you can do it like that. Then what you can also do is, for example, for this destination, you can also say dot. You can chain more methods here to this string method you can change another one here called min here, and it takes the minimum characters which you want for this destination. You can set to 10, and you can also set a message here for this validation here, but here I'll just say 2. I'll just say 2 here. Now for the description, I can also give here the description like main. I'll just say dot main here. I'll say 2, and I also give marks. You see, we can change some more methods here, and I'll also give this description here like this. Now for the price, what I'll do for the price is I'll remove this. You can say zot dot first if they provide, because when we are passing this validation as our form data, is going to be a string. So what we need to first do is we need to coerce this to a number. So you call this coerce property here. You can say now dot, we want to send it to a number like this. Then you can call it as a positive integer like this. This is how you are going to do with this price, because if you just pass number here, that means it's going to be expecting a number, while our form data is required is going to be a string. So that's why we are coercing this to a number, so that if we have a string here, it's not going to throw us an error. It's going to convert it to a number. For example, if you have an empty string, it's going to give you 0. Yes, if you have a string of 5, it's going to give you a number of 5 here, just like that. So that's the price. Then coming to the user ID, we just it's just okay like this. So this is our validation schema here. Then what about our product image? For our product image, I'll just change another method here. I'll say .url here. Now what this will do here is we can just provide a message here. It's going to expect us to pass a URL rather than just passing a string as our image. Yeah. So I think this is all we are going to have for our validation schema here for creating an order like this. So now that we have this validation schema here, let's come down here. We need to change some few things right down here. So here I'm going to create another I'll say const validation. I'll just give it the name like this: validated order data is equals to order schema dot, I'll say pass save. Instead of just saying pass, I'll say pass save. Let me say save pass. Okay, this is going to be save pass dot pass save. So save pass, and I'm just going to pass the order data here in this save pass. So what is this save pass here going to do for us? This save pass here is going to help us to handle our errors here gracefully. So it's going to return two things. It can either return a success, or it's going to return an error. So this validated order data. So if you come here, let me show you. If you check here, let's check if let's give like this. If is validated order data dot success, you see that's the success there. If this is not successful, what we want to do is we want to return some errors state. Here I'll just say errors. We are going to provide this types very soon. Yes, very soon we're going to provide the types for this error state like this. So I'll say validated order data dot, you see that's the error and the success state you're seeing there. So what we want here is the error dot. There's also a method you can use here. That's it. You can use the flatten method there. So this is going to flat all the errors for the particular fields as an array. Yes, it's going to flat them because defaultly it's going to be an array. So you just flat the error messages into this error fields. Now you can call the field errors here. Okay, now you can provide a general message here for this error field. Now we just say invalid order data. Okay, just like that. Now what we really want is we do not want to be sending this order data back into this create method here. What we want to send is we want to send the right data here, a safe data. So what we can do here is I'll remove that and I'll say validated order data dot, you see we have a data property here. Now you can get the data here. So with this, you see everything stays the same. It's not complaining, so everything's okay here. So one other thing we need to do here is, after we create an order and finish, we need to reset our cache. Yes, we need to reset our cache, and Next.js provides us some utility functions to do that. Here we call the revalidate path here in order to revalidate the cache. Now this revalidate path is going to revalidate only the paths which you want, which you're passing in the revalidate path object. So you say revalidate path, you see it's coming from next cache, so we're going to take it here. And what is the path which we're going to be revalidating? Say dashboard / orders. Okay, just like that. So when we create an order and finish, also what we want to do is we want to redirect the user to this very order page. So we can call redirect here. Now you take this redirect from next navigation. Don't take it from this next here, from this server here. Take it from next navigation here, and we redirect the user back to the orders page. Now with this, let's deal now with our errors. Let's deal with the errors actually. Now I'm going to create a state, an error state here. I'm going to create an error state here for our application. So here what I'll do is I'll just say error. No, I'll say const. I'll just say export type. I'm going to call this type, I'll just say state, because I think we're going to have only one of these here. So I'm just going to call it state here. Now for the state here, I'll start by giving these errors. Remember, we had these errors here. It's going to be an object, and the first thing we're going to have here is a product name here, which is going to be a string. Remember, it's also an array, a string of array. That's product name. We're going to have product images too. Also, we're going to have destinations, description, price. Yep, I think this we are going to have only these fields for validation here. And the other property we have here was message. I'm going to say it's either string or null. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass a previous state to our create order, because at the end we are going to be using use state hook form from React. Yes, we're going to be using the use state form hook from React. So you just have to scroll down. Let's find the create order here. Okay, this is a create order here. In this create order, I'm going to provide another parameter here. I'll say this is previous state here. Remember, this is going to be our error state. I'll just pass the error state here. Now with this, now our order create here is going to be broken, because it's going to be expecting this parameter here. But as I told you before, we are going to be using the used form state hook. We're going to be using the use form state hook from React. So let's go back to this create order here. You see it's broken here. So what I'll do is I'll come here as a const. Also use form state. If you look here, this form state is expecting two required arguments here. We have the action and an initial state here. So the action now here is this our create order. We're going to pass our create order here. So this create order. Now our initial state, we can pass anything here. What I'll pass as the initial state here, I'll just say our errors. Remember, it is errors, which is an empty object like this. It also expects our messages here. So message, which is I'm going to just set it to null. Okay, now this hook here is going to return us the state and the action. It's going to return us the state and the action which we can dispatch. So here we can take in the state here. So if you pass state here, remember this it feels like the syntax of a use state. Yes, so you can take the state here and a dispatch. Now this dispatch here is just like your action. It's just like this create order here. It's the same thing with this create order. So you can just pass now this dispatch inside this action. Let's say dispatch like this. So we are having some errors here. Let's see. So if you hover your mouse over here, you see the type here. This error message is just a TypeScript error here for strict type checking. So what we can do to make this error disappear is let's come to our actions here. What I'm going to do is I'll come right to where we are creating our orders here, this state. I'm going to say this is either going to be undefined like this, and also I'm going to create a type for this here. I'll say this is going to be a promise of type state or undefined. So just like this, you see the error is gone here. So let's come back here. Let's try to log these errors to the console and go and submit our form and see if we are going to receive any type errors here. I know this is a lot of work here just to get to make our form ready for production, because if you don't do this, if you don't do things like this, your inputs are always going to be at risk. So let's log the state here. Let's go to application. Okay, fail to compile. React server component. Okay. Oh, I forgot. We are doing all of this in a server component, so we need to convert this to a client component. Oh, my bad. Sorry for that, guys. So here, this order create, we need to turn this into a client component because we are using client specific code here. So you say use client here. Okay. Don't forget this, guys. Always put this here when you are using client specific code like use state. We have useFormState here. It's coming from React DOM. So you see our error messages are showing here already. Errors is an empty object here, while the message here is null. But now let's go try to submit this form and see what we are going to get. Okay, now let me just choose an image here, just that it don't show us an error. Let's submit. Let's go back, come back here. Okay, you see our errors object now have these errors in it. Let me just dock the errors here. Okay, here you see errors. We have the destination. Destination must be at least 10 characters long. You see, that's the message we specify. Then for description, string must contain at least 2 characters. Then for price, you see, number must be greater than 0. Because we provided validation for all of this field. That's why we are seeing them like this. Now, for message, you see the message now is invalid order data. The message which we gave here. Where is it? This in actions. This is it here. Invalid order data. So this is the message here. Now, we can use these error messages here. We can use these error messages in our order create here. I'm going to remove that. Remember, these input fields here, they have a property called error here. Here I'll just say state.errors.image. Remember, if you come to state here, we have errors dot the various properties here. So this is going to be image. This is not image, product image. So we need to first check if the state is available. Dot errors dot product image. Okay, like this. We need to do the same thing for the product name. Now, if you're wondering how we passed this error, remember when we're building this input group, I placed this error right below our input here. We are checking if we have an error. Then want to get the first array in that error. You see, this is it, and it's always going to be one message in that error. So we are just taking the first one here. So let's go back and complete these error messages here. For the places search also is the same thing. We also have an error message here, and for input group, which is for price here, yes, is the same. Now for description, we do not have it for description because description we just created our input like this. So we are going to put our own here. So what I'll do is I'll first check if state.error.description, then we want to give the same thing we did for these other input groups here. Yes, so this is the same thing we did there. Now we are done now with the validation. We have brought the validation into our form input here. So I can remove this. Let's go back and check. Guys, forms are always very difficult to work with. So let's try to click. Okay, no such file. Okay, this is because of our image. Yes, so what I'll do is I'll just refresh. I'll try to give an image here. Let's send it again. Yes, you see our validation messages here. This is destination must be at least 10 character. Number must be 0. You have description must contain at least 2 characters. So these are the error messages which we are saying right here. So with this, you see that we are having validation right into this form here. So we are going to take care of what this error caused by the image here very soon. So now let's actually try to see if we can create a product all together with this validation messages here. So for description now, I'm just going to say what done Australia here, and the description here I'll just give some random text. The product name, I'll take this one, all-in-one skincare ointment, and the price here 25. Let's try to create, because if we create now, if it's successful, it's going to take us to the other page here. So let's try. We also need to provide a loading indicator here. In the future, we're going to provide a loading indicator there. Okay, what happened? We were being redirected back to this very page here. Why is that? But first, let's check if that record was actually created. Let's check if it was created. Let's come here. I'm going to open SQL Explorer. Let me just refresh it. Let's go to orders. Let's just click orders here. Let's go. Okay, yes, it was created. This is it here. If you scroll here, you see this is the image here, and this is the product name, all-in-one skin care ointment. This is the description, and this was the address here. This Wodonga, Australia. But I don't get it why we are not being redirected to the other page. So let's check our actions again and see. Let's just try to restart the development server and see, because I've looked, we are not doing anything wrong here. So I'll say I want to terminate this batch. Okay, if you look at this error here, this error is happening because of the package which we installed. When it's not yet loaded, it's going to like throw this error here like this, but it's not problem. It's going to pick it up. That is only when the package is not being loaded. So let's go back to our form here. I'll try to reload the form. It's taking a little bit of time to build the form. Okay, now it's done. Let's choose a file. I'm going to choose let's say this one. Open destination. I'm going to take this here. We have 2 here. I'm going to take this one. Description, I'll just give something random here. For the product name here, I'll just say React for beginners. For the price 25, and let's create. Okay, now it's working. You see, it actually redirects us back to this dashboard. But the problem is that right now we need to pass cloudinary as our in one of in our settings here. We need to pass cloudinary in our settings. So we need to provide the host name here. This is going to be this rest.cloudinary.com, and also, so let me just copy this. We need to configure this to include cloudinary. So I'll come to, let me first come right down to where we have next config. Yes, we have on splash here. This, let's also bring in cloudinary. I need to go back and get it from here. Okay, our development server is going to start up back now. Okay, it's ready. Let's head over back to, let's reload. Okay, you see, these are the various orders which we have created. Here we have React for beginners. This is it here. You see, these are the various prices. Yes, we created this two. We created this one just now. This is the one we created the other time. Yes, so I created this one to test if everything was working here. So you see, this is it. Let's check pagination here. Yeah, pagination is still good. Okay. If you also go to the dashboard, you see that all of these changes are going to be reflected in our dashboard as well, in our chat. So if you come to dashboard chat here, yeah, you see, if you look at the first user, this, I think this was the first user here. Look at their pending. Now is 7 here. Look at the others ones. You see, the pending here is 7 because we've added 4. Previously was 3. Now is 7 for this first user here. But what I want us to do before time catches us in this section is that this section has been running a little bit long. Here is what. Let's talk about error handling. Yes, let's talk about error handling here, because there are basically 2 ways which you can handle your errors here. You can handle the global errors using the error.txt file, or you can handle your errors using the not found .txt page. So you can use that for the not found .txt page. You can use it for not for 404 errors. When you see that a particular operation is going to show you a 404 error, that's when you can use the not found error page. So, but for other errors which are going to be generated in your application, you can use the error.txt file. So let's go and see how we can use errors in Next.js here. So this error page, error.txt page, is going to catch the errors depending on where you placed that file. So if you place it in the orders here, it's going to catch it. It's going to catch any error down this route beneath the other route here. That is from this route downward. If you put it in the dashboard here, it's going to catch all the errors in the dashboard route here, route segment till down to the last child route. So what I want to do is I'll just place it in these orders here for demonstration purpose. Now I'll create a new file. All we need to do is to just name this file error.txs here. Okay, I'll say rfce. Just say, since this is a component, you need to make it capital letters. And also this has to be a client's component here. So use client. So this error object here, it takes 2 things here. You can destructure the error itself here, and also you can take a reset function here. This reset, what this reset will do is going to read that, it's going to try to refetch back the data which you are trying to access. Yes, so this is what this reset is going to do here. Now it's complaining here because we need to provide types for this, because you're passing them as prop here. So I'll just provide the types inline here. For the error, I'll just say error is going to be of type like error here, and reset is going to be just a function. I'll call it void. Now here I'm going to rename this to main. I just want to write, Ctrl Z. I want to write some styles here very quick. First I'm going to give it class name flex, and height is going to be full. Flex is going to be column, item center, justify center. Let me give some more room here, and in here I'm going to give an edge to, wait, let me see. Yes, I'll just give it like this. Here I'll say oops, something went wrong. Okay, now we have this file. What I want us to do is, let's go to our Prisma here. Let's try to artificially place an error in our get orders here. There's also one thing I want to do. Let's come to where we are getting these last 5 items. Let's remove this code which we placed here earlier. This was just for demonstration purpose. Here, you remove it. Now let's come and introduce an error in here. This is get orders. Yes, here I'll just throw a new error here. I'll say throw a new error getting orders, just like this. You see, everything down here is going to be commented. So if you try now to go to our application, you're going to receive that error. Yes, oops, something went wrong. Error getting orders. See, this is the error message here, error getting orders. Now you can reload the page. If you reload the page, you are still going to get the same error because we had that error there. So you see, now this is error.txs file. You see the error is showing us here. Let's go and cut this error and put it in our dashboard just to see something. If it's going to cache this, if we are going to have this custom error page like this, we are not going to have it because it is beneath where we provide this error.txs file. So let's go here. Let's go to I'll cut this from here. Oh, Control X. Let's place this in this get last 5 orders. Let's save. Let's go back to the code. If you reload this page now, we're going to have our orders normally. But let's go to the dashboard. You see the good thing about rendering your components on your server-side rendering. You see, we are able to navigate between this page while we have an error in the dashboard page here. But that is not stopping us from navigating between the other parts of our application. You see, let's come back to dashboard here. Yes, you see now that we received but this error page here, this other error page here, which is not actually nice. So you see that where you place that error.txt file is very important. So for caching global errors, you can just place that error.txt file in the root of your application to cache general errors. So let's go back and do that. I'm going to remove this error.txt file. First of all, let's get rid of this. Let's remove that file and put it, instead of it being here, let's put it in the dashboard here, in this dashboard folder. So it's going to be one level up. Okay, now it's here. Good. If we bring back that error now, you see that we are going to have we are going to see that page. Let's go back. Yes, now we are seeing the page here. Oops, errors getting data here. So you can customize the error depending on which route segment you are. But now this is a simple application we are building, so that's why I'm just placing that error at the root of our dashboard. So that means if any type of error occur, this is the message here we are going to see, this error getting orders. But you can customize it. You can customize the error message and send different error.txt file on different routes based on what you're doing. So I hope that is clear. Now let's try the not found error, the 404 error, before we finish up with this section. I'll go back to the application here. I'm going to remove this. We don't need this error here. To test this other functionality, let's go to our edit page here. This edit, yes. we need to create here under this is order. Yes, we need to create that not found here, because here when you are editing the product, if you get that particular order, if that particular order is not found, it's going to throw a not found error. So this is a good place for us to place that file. So here I'll just say not found.txs. So not found. Here I'm just going to return all of this. We need to bring in this link from next link. Okay, cannot find the requested order. We have this not found like this. So this is how this not found page is going to look like. Now just putting this not found page like this is not going to do you much. What we need to do is go to the edit page here. We need to call that not found method in the edit page here. Now this lock here, I'm going to remove this lock here. What I'll do here is I'll say if here we do not have that ID here, I'll just say want to call not found. This is going to come from next navigation here. So just like this, now we have the not found nicely set up. So you need to call this function here. So let's go here. Okay, everything is back here to normal. You see all our latest orders here are pending. Let's go to orders. Let's try to edit an order. Let's go to that particular order to edit. Okay, this is the order edit page, right? Now I just want to change this order ID here. Let me just change the order ID here. You see, I'll put T here. So we are not seeing any error message. Let's refresh again. You see, we are not seeing any error message. That's because we are not actually fetching our data with this ID. If we were fetching our data, we could have looked in the database. This ID will not be available. So what I'll do is I'll just throw an error in this route here. I'll just throw that not found error in this route here. So whenever I come here, I'll just throw the error here, because we are not yet fetching the data for this edit order. We'll do that in the next video. Now here, instead of just putting here not found, I want to say if there's actually an ID here, then we'll call that not found. Let's come back here. Yes, you see, this is the not found message we have now. You see 404 not found, couldn't find the requested order. If you click go back, it's going to take you back to the order page here like this. Yes, so this is how you handle errors in Next.js. So in the next video, we are going to implement our map, and we are going to show our order history in that section. So stay tuned for that part. But for now, I'm going to cut this other part because it is running too long. So see you in the next part. Take care, and don't forget to hit the subscription button if you haven't subscribed to the video, to the channel yet. Also, you smash the like button and you comment on the video, and even share the video to your friends who need to learn Next.js. So with that said, see you in the next video. Bye.